2009 was a very interesting year because there were so many significant events that happened during this time. When it came to the NFL, it was a pretty typical year in spite of one aspect. This aspect was a player's superb performance, not because he wasn't already a great player, it was because at the age he did it at, and he did it while making the play of the year.
12 seconds to go in the game. Niners lead by 4. Favre back to pass, pumps to the left. 8 seconds left. He gets away from the pressure, fires to the end zone. It's caught! It's Greg Lewis! Touchdown! Oh my heavens! Greg Lewis! Welcome to Minnesota! Oh my heavens! Greg Lewis!
This guy, Brett Favre, was a beast in his heyday, and many people consider him to be the greatest talent to ever play the quarterback position. He had many great seasons as a cheesehead, however though he might have had his best season in 2009 when he was with the Packers' rival, the Minnesota Vikings. The fact that he had so much success during the season with the Vikings at the age of 40 years old, it's very impressive yet very suspicious, and that's why I wonder whether or not he used performance-enhancing drugs during this season. Now, Brett Favre isn't the only player I have questioned their integrity of the game. Almost a year ago, I raised a similar question with Tom Brady and James Harrison. Now, I'm not entirely sure whether or not he did or didn't use PEDs. That's why I'm going to look at both sides of the argument. Enough of the chitter chatter. Let's look into this investigation. Now, Brett Favre, when he was on the Jets, he started off well, until his arm fell off by the end of the 2008 season. He was like, "I'm too weak." By the time he joined the Vikings, I'm not questioning him just because he is. I am questioning him for multiple reasons. One of those reasons happened to be the receiving talent that he had. While he was with a good receiving core, it isn't the best in the world. The best receiver on his roster was Percy Harvin, and Percy Harvin wasn't exactly a dominant wide receiver. Yeah, sure, he was a great gadget player, but he was really a guy that got 700 yards per season, but he was special in the sense that you can line him up at running back, wide receiver, and he could be a good kickoff return man, but he's not really that dominant of a receiving threat. For his tight end Vasante Shenko, he definitely had a good season, and Shenko actually had a fairly similar season to the season that he had before and after 2009. However, though, 11 out of his 27 career touchdowns did come this season, and that's quite a lot for a guy who had a 10-plus year career in the NFL. For Adrian Peterson, he was definitely a great running back. When it came to as a receiver, though, he was never that great. But in 2009, he had his best receiving numbers yet, with over 40 receptions and 400 yards receiving. For Sidney Rice, he had over 1,300 yards receiving, with over 80 receptions. However, this ended up being a fluke because he never got even close to this amount again. The closest he ever got to this was in 2012 with the Seattle Seahawks, with over 700 yards receiving with 50 receptions. And remember that great miracle pass I showed you at the beginning of the video? Well, that was caught by a no-name wide receiver in Greg Lewis, who didn't even get 100 yards during that season. Some of you watching this video might be wondering, why does this matter? Well, this matters because Percy Harvin, Sidney Rice, Vasante Shenko, Adrian Peterson, Greg Lewis weren't as good as receivers without Brett Favre, versus when they were with them, their numbers went up drastically. Now, if Brett Favre did use drugs, then which drug did he use? If he did use PEDs, then he would have used steroids. If this was the case, then this wouldn't be the first time he has used drugs. In the late 90s, he went to rehab because he was abusing painkillers. Also, it's hard to ignore the fact that Brett Favre delayed retirement.
Should probably retire after this. I don't know.
While mainstream media viewed this as him being uncertain about retiring, I viewed it as him cycling down his steroids. This would postpone his drug test so eventually he can avoid being suspended for that drug use. Since he tore his muscle with the New York Jets, essentially steroids would help him speed up the recovery process, while also decreasing the soreness in his arm. A reason why I'm bringing this up is because a famous steroid user also used the same tactic.
Roger now continues to deny that he took steroids. I'm not sure. Anybody who saw the testimony today, it left a big question mark.
Is that right?
Yeah, well, look.
Say B12 is not beneficial unless you have a dire medical need for it, like if you had anemia. What's your experience been through injecting B12?
I was encouraged to take B12 all the way back since 1988. My mother encouraged me to take B12. I think it's beneficial. I take vitamins every other day.
Both Roger Clemens and Brett Favre were ageless wonders, and essentially them delaying retirement might have been them avoiding drug tests. Thanks, Bodybuilding Forum. Roger Clemens is viewed as a demon while Brett Favre is viewed as a saint. The only reason why Brett Favre is viewed as a hero is because the NFL is a lot less strict on drug use while the MLB is not. Brett Favre is definitely a suspect of drug use, however though there's definitely a counter to this argument. And no, it wasn't because of Copperfit. He didn't start endorsing them until 2014.
Oh man, I still got it.
When it came to his receiving talent, yeah sure, it wasn't that impressive. However, the running game was a different story. We all know Adrian "All-Day" Peterson is a great running back, and during the season he had his career best 18 rushing touchdowns. This was 6 more than his median of rushing touchdowns. Now some of you watching are probably wondering how this is relevant, or how does a passing heavy quarterback and a running heavy running back coexist? Having a great passing game and a great running game made the Minnesota Vikings the most dynamic offense during the season. The opponent's defenses had to pick their poison on whether or not they wanted to defend against Brett Favre or Adrian Peterson. This essentially opens up defenses a little bit more and leaves them up more vulnerably. So for Brett Favre's case, essentially the passing windows got a lot bigger, and so it was a lot easier to pass the football with great efficiency, which is something that he wasn't very known for during his career. Sure, Brett Favre's played with other good running backs before, but he hasn't played with a great one, and Adrian Peterson made a big difference to his play. Brett Favre had the highest passer rating in his career with 33 touchdowns and just 7 interceptions. And if you look at the best touchdown to interception ratios ever by quarterbacks, they had good running games during those seasons. However, though, I don't just think it was the running game that helped out his great play. It also was because of this very underrated reason. He played in a dome. Some people think it's absolutely ridiculous that a quarterback's play can be elevated because he plays in a dome. Let me show you why they're somewhat incorrect. When it comes to passer ratings, their numbers definitely go up, so essentially quarterbacks are much more efficient when they're playing indoors. If you look at the chart, 8 out of 10 quarterbacks have higher passer ratings when playing in a dome. The ones that don't have a higher passer rating are Russell Wilson and Cam Newton, and the reason why they don't is because that they are running teams, and essentially domes help passing offenses more so than they help running offenses. Why is this? Well, because since there's no weather affecting their quarterback play, essentially quarterback can be throwing around perfect styles without any wind resistance, precipitation resistance, you name it. While when it comes to running teams, essentially they are going to need that weather to be on their side because definitely bigger running backs are definitely hard to tackle in the rain and whatnot. This is why a lot of analysts couldn't keep in their pants that Sam Darnold's pro day was on a rainy day. Domes make quarterbacks more efficient, and my god, Brett Favre was unusually efficient. When it comes to the question whether or not Brett Favre did use PEDs, here's my answer. I definitely did think that he took steroids during the 2009 season. However, this does not mean this is the only reason why Brett Favre had a successful season. I think the running game and the dome is a good argument on why he had such a statistical stout season. It's safe to say that both were a contributing factor to his success, but this does kind of answer our question that he probably did take some sort of performance enhancer during this time. Overall, guys, I've been talking way too much. What do you guys think? Leave your comments down below. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
I left optic for phase because I am not Virgil later.
Pass pumps to the left, 8 seconds.
Get off me, you damn slut.
Fires to the end zone. It's caught! Touchdown!
You ain't MLG like Ninja with Fortnite.